nothing is impossible, right? No matter what background you have, no matter what education level you have, no matter how poor your English is, no matter what country you belong to, right? Everything is within your limit. As long as you're willing to challenge yourself, right? And never doubt yourself. Once you commit it, you need to just go with it, right? Forget about the consequences. As I said that before, never question yourself. Just believe in yourself.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of Inspired By, hosted by me, Manjeet Nijam. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so honoured and blessed to introduce my guest this week, my first one of 2021, and what a way to start. Oh my goodness. I have known this young man for a good 20 odd years. I call him my nephew, he calls me his aunt. We kind of gravitated towards each other and adopted each other as aunt and nephew many, many years ago when we met. He is just amazing. He's in the armed forces and he recently was on the honours list and he is now an MBE. So to say that I'm proud is putting it mildly. I know his family, all his friends, all his well-wishers are just so proud of all the work that he's done. So I thought, well, what better way to celebrate Sarvjit than to bring him on board? So Sarvjit, how are you?
I'm very well, Manjeet. Thank you very much for your kind words and for such a good introduction. And thank you for having me as your first guest, as a first guest for the new year. It is a great opportunity for me to actually tell my story and go through my journey, which has been full of excitement and things like that, which we are going to share. Absolutely brilliant news and thrilled to be here with this session. So
thank you. Absolutely. So what we'll do is, if it's okay with you, we'll go right back to the beginning before we get to your MBE to find out more about you as an individual.
Yeah.
So tell me about you, your family. Were you born in the UK? Where were you born? How did you get to be Sarvjit Singh MBE?
Right. So I call this journey, and I was actually thinking about it, from G to MBE. So why I call it G to MBE? So that's my Pin's name, my village name, where I belong to is called Ganeshpur. Mm-hmm. That's a very small village in the state of Haryana in India. Mm-hmm. I was born on the 7th of December 1981. Obviously, born and brought up and educated in India. My dad, he's a retired police officer. My mum, she's a retired teacher. And I've also got two siblings, a younger brother and an older brother. Younger brother, Adarsh Pal Singh, obviously you know him. He's also in the armed forces. And he's more like the key element for my success, shall I say, that he was the kind of one who pushed me to join the armed forces, because joining the army, especially the British Army, was never on my agenda or never actually thought about it. That's why, I always give my credit to him. Basically, going back to the journey, my dad was posted into the Indian Embassy in 2000. So the whole family came here. Mm-hmm. And during that time, my younger brother, Adarsh, she joined the armed forces. And I went back home in India. And for some reason, I have to visit him. And then while I was here, then he actually told me, he said to me, okay, why are you here? Why don't you just look into the process? Mm. I'm not asking you to join the army, but just challenge yourself. I said, okay, that's fine. Fair enough. Mm. I can do that. Sort of like started the preparation. Before I realized I passed my selection, enlisted into the British Army. And here I am after.
So what did you have to do when you say you passed your selection? Yeah. What did you have to do in order to get your place within the British Army?
So obviously, first of all, you have to apply for it. And the rules were totally different compared to now. So I think during that time, you have to have like a 6-year valid visa and a passport. Yeah. But you can join as a Commonwealth, sort of like being a Commonwealth citizen. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first process to fill the application and then go through the process. Once you fill your application process, then you get your selection date, which you have to do a 2 days assessment at ATC Pirbright. which includes your physical, sort of physical side of it, as well as your, academic/mental side of it. So you have to do some scenarios, which is based on your judgment, how you perceive things, and what sort of solution you come up with.
Yeah. It's like a job interview, really, isn't it? You're interviewing to get a job within the army.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But this interview is a little bit more different. They just want to see whether you have that sort of like a mental resilience to cope with the situations before you can, put yourself in the situation. I quite enjoyed that, like 2 days. It was quite adventurous, and that kind of, create that interest, that curiosity within me. I said, if this 2 days looks really thrill or looks full of excitement, what about the rest of the career? So when I passed my selection, and obviously got my date for the basic training, which I did it in January 2004 at Winchester. Once you pass your basic training, which was 12 weeks that time, and then obviously
that's quite hard, isn't it? Were you away from all your family for 12 weeks, or how?
Yeah, so absolutely away from families, and that time mobile phone wasn't there. It was literally like, you had those coin phones, then you literally put 10 pence to make a phone call. There was no internet, there was no Facebook, no Instagram. It was hard. And I think the one thing really gets you is the homesickness, because, you never been living that kind of disciplined life, but then you have to get up at a certain time, you have to do the jobs, you have to earn your uniform, you need to ready for the inspection, then you have to ready for the lessons, and then each week has the different or unique challenges. So the homesickness always plays in your mind, being away from the family for the first time as well. So you're missing all the good time you spend with them.
Yeah, because we've got obviously similar backgrounds, you and I. We're both Punjabi. And how close-knit the Punjabi family is. When I got married originally and moved away, I was like, oh my God, it's like I've been taken out and put somewhere else. And it was so difficult to get used to living within a different family. So in a sense, it was a bit like that for you, because you were in your family unit with your, loved ones, and all of a sudden you were within another, you now have to get on with another family unit, which essentially is the army.
Absolutely. And I think it's a good thing you brought up that culture, because it's more like a cultural shock to me. Because, in the meantime, I was trying to get used to the country's culture, right? Yeah. Being away from my my home country and then being in here, trying to adjust within the environment and circumstances. And now I have to deal with the army culture at the same time. It wasn't easy. And obviously, during those times, there was no much support available, which is now in modern days. You have got the faith networks and other sort of agencies or other agencies that are available there. So it was kind of hard, but I think the motivation at the end, which drives you towards through that 12-week was like, is the pride, is the end state. Like I was thinking, okay, once I pass this, I will be classed as a British soldier. And I'm just thinking that, wow, just having that thought is actually creates the goosebumps and, gives you that sort of like the extra morale to complete those challenges.
So which part of it, because the army is huge, it's got so many different parts to it, which part were you attached to originally? And then we can get to later on about where you're attached, unless you're in the same unit now, I don't know. We can discuss that.
So the good thing about the army is you travel a lot, right? But for example, when you join the army, so you're given a certain cap badge. So I don't know if you can see the cap badge I'm wearing, that's the Army Air Corps. So the army has like different cap badges. So you pick and choose which cap badge you want to go for, where you want to be infantry, or you want to be the driver, the logistic, or the pilots and sort of things like that. So I decided to go with Army Air Corps, and purely reason is Adarsh, obviously he joined it before me. And he was in the cap badge. So I just, said, okay, at least my brother is in there. So I'm going to use the same, I'm going to follow his footprints and I'm just going to join the same cap badge. So that was my reason. So when I joined the Army Air Corps, there are, once you finish your phase 1 training, which is at Winchester, then we go to Middle Wallop, which is our phase 2 school. So you learn about your trade there, and once you complete that, it takes you about almost that time, was probably almost in a year. And after that, you get posted to the field regiment. So I got posted to Watersham, that was in Suffolk. So near Ipswich. So I spent there 9 years, first 9 years of my field army, and those 9 years are quite busy because during that time, Afghanistan was going on, and so we were quite busy in that sort
So
of like era.
touching on Afghanistan, then, I mean, again, transported. Were you stationed in Afghanistan? Did you see what was going on there? I mean, what you can actually discuss.
Yeah, can't go into much details, but what I can tell you, I've done 3 Afghanistan tours. So my first tour was in November 2006 to May 2007. So that was almost like 6 to 7 month tour. That was the initial days when the forces were going out there and trying to tackle all the threat and trying to create that stability to the infrastructure and assisting the government to making sure that the basic necessities are provided. For example, like schools and education, that sort of things. It is a big support network. So whoever deploys to Afghanistan, no matter what job they did or they're doing, they always contribute towards the bigger mission, right? Imagine if you take the one link out, the whole sort of structure falls down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why you got to fit into the structure, and you need to do your responsibility. And you need to do it.
I'm going to go backtrack a little bit for Afghanistan, because you did 3 tours, and which is, I can't even imagine begin to even imagine what that must have been like. So there's a lot of young men like yourself who have done many tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, and all over the world where there's war going on and so on. We're blessed to live in the UK where there isn't anything like that at all. So we're very blessed for that. You and your colleagues, Afghanistan is just one of those places where you would have gone to help as part of your job. You must have seen PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome as well. I mean, that's got to have a huge impact on you and your family. I'm not saying you directly, as in you suffered from it. Suffer's the wrong word, I suppose. You were affected by it, I should say. And I don't know if you were affected by it or your colleagues or whoever. It must be difficult to come from somewhere where there's all this conflict going on and you've seen so much, and then to come back to the UK where it's like normal life.
I can certainly tell you, when you go away on operation tours and things like that, it's never going to be an easy life because A, you're away from your family, B, you don't have that sort of like a normal stuff like mobile phones and things like that, the internet. There are certain access to the certain sort of like the media platforms, but not as frequent as you would do if you're back in the UK and things like that. And certainly the people who goes on the ground and deal with more action, like, deal with it. And when they see their friends or families going through such dramatic, incidents, which is not really pleasant to see or, to hear it, that certainly leaves some sort of like, stress or PTSD sort of factors on them. So that's why on the way back, we used to stop at Cyprus to do like 2 days, sort of like decompression days.
Yeah.
So before you come back to the UK, so you just easily bring you back to the normal life of it. And then you can certainly see those, that difference being away and then coming back to the normal. And it's not a quick fix, trust me, because there's 2 sides of it. So when you go out there and it takes you time to get used to the sort of like the routine, the situation, the circumstances and things like that. Once you settle, then when you come back again, you're going from certain set of like a life back to the normal life where you can do whatever you want. It does take a little bit longer to get adjusted. I kind of myself find quite lucky because especially coming from India, then I think my mental resilience, I class my mental resilience is probably a little bit better than to the others because everyone, I always prefer to this bucket. I call it stress bucket, right? Everyone has a different size of buckets and every stress bucket is going to be different compared to everyone. So I was quite fortunate in that. But I would definitely say it does affect you, especially if something happens personally to yourself or the friends or colleagues around you. But the good thing about the army, it's a family, as you said it earlier. With the family, what we do, we hold on to each other, we support each other, and we motivate each other.
I think
Then,
the camaraderie between you guys is amazing. I've seen it obviously between you and your brother. I mean, that's just so funny to see the way you just bounce off of each other.
Yeah.
When I've seen you guys together. But my elder brother was this is way long time ago. He was in the RCT, Royal Corps Transport. So, and he was stationed in Germany. He didn't see any action or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it comes with a sense of pride when a member of your family wears that uniform, and they're representing the whole of the UK, and they're out there doing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So for your family to have two of you doing that, your mum and dad, they must be really, really proud, but also they must have had that sense of, oh, what if they get sent off? What if they, when you're in Afghanistan and so on, and same with your brother, they must have had that sense of, Rabraka.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There's always that. So, it comes to the family, sort of things like that. I'm quite lucky that I've got family the way I am. My dad and my mom. My dad is a bit more, he understands the sort of side of it. Mums always being mums, they always, no matter how, how old or big you are, you always class as a baby. So when stuff happens like that, we tend not to tell them in the sense that they will get worried. But obviously my dad is always aware whatever happens at that time. So at least we keep them in the loop. And obviously dad can handle mom very well. I'm sure he's been doing that for long and he's mastered it. So, it's definitely there's a sense of achievement, and there's definitely a sense of, that sort of like feelings, what if something does go wrong? And it's a part of life. It's a part of profession, no matter what you do. But as long as you are being vigilant and you're being professional, you know what you're doing, you can save, you can protect yourself from potential threats. So to the others. When it comes to the wearing a uniform, there's certainly one thing I have realized, which no one tells you that. If you are Indian and you're Sikh and you're in the army, right?
A turban wearing Sikh.
It's turban wearing Sikhs.
Yeah.
It's more responsibility because you're in the eye of the public. Right. So when I wear a uniform and go out and about dealing with, with the community or with the civilian people, I always think I need to carry myself well. I always need to be professional, because if I do something a little bit wrong, obviously, people will highlight it because, because you look different. And I'm not just saying that's a good or bad thing, but what I'm saying that for me, I certainly have done that. Because I'm wearing this uniform, I'm wearing with a pride. So I just need to be a bit more accountable and responsible towards it. So that's why, trying to do things in a professional way whenever there's an opportunity.
Because, wearing a turban, a bug at the start, it's a huge responsibility. Never mind wearing it and a uniform.
Absolutely.
You've got kind of like it's triple, quadruple the responsibility you all of a sudden have.
Yeah.
You are representing a whole faith, not just the community of Indians, it's the whole faith, which is, millions and millions of people follow the Sikh faith across the whole world.
And absolutely, I totally agree with you. And I'm so privileged, and I'm so thankful to God that, if, as you saying that, and thanks for the kind words, that I'm representing the COM. And I'm so glad that I'm actually, doing my responsibilities well, and hence trying to, make that sort of space for everyone that, as long as you do your work, with the right intent, you will get, the praise or the award for it, or, we will appreciate that. So, that's certainly that responsibility is always there, as long as that's always back of your mind.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's more like, self-check sort of things for yourself. So I think regardless of what you do, I think, whether wearing a uniform or not, I think if everyone sort of have a sense of responsibility, then I'm sure this society or probably a place probably a bit more better for everyone.
So you said earlier, like you're one of three. So you have an older brother, a younger brother. Younger one's in the forces like yourself. What does the older one do?
So my older brother, is in America. He runs his own business. He lives in New Jersey. He's married with 2 kids, and he's doing really well. Obviously, times are a bit tougher at the moment with the COVID, that we cannot go and see them very often as we would do. But he's always been a very support sort of things for me. Every time I go through any sort of like tough time, I always pick up a phone and just give him a call and say, I call him Virji. Yeah. Obviously, my big brother said, this is the situation, and he always listened to me out and then trying to guide me, with his experience and things like that. So he always,
Then you've got that with a younger brother, haven't you? That he looks up to you.
Absolutely, I think
it's the beauty, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think
he's looking up to you and asking you for advice.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think it always has to be three-way, upwards, downwards, and horizontally. That's what I believe in. And I'm really, privileged to have family like that. As I said, especially my brothers. It's brilliant. And of course, my wife as well.
And don't forget your lovely children as well. So
absolutely, my heart, especially my youngest one, Avneet Kaur. She just turned 6 last week.
Oh, birthday for last week.
Thank you. Absolutely, obviously you have your family, but then you have your, wife and children. If you're having a tough time, when you go back home, you go and see them. Just give them a hug. Just spend some more time and tend to kind of forget about it. I think that clear divide definitely needs to happen when you leave your place of work. Everything needs to stay there, and when you go back home, I believe you shouldn't take any problems with you there, because that's a separate world. So trying to create that balance, work and life balance. Still working on it. I don't know if there's any solution to that, but yeah.
I think we're all doing that, whether you're in the forces or whether you're got an office job or whatever kind of role you might be playing. It is having that balance between work and life. So you are working, that has its own stresses and strains. Then you've got your home life, your family life, that's got its own ups and downs with it as well. It's finding a balance between the two. How do you manage that then? How do you manage to balance your career? And then you've got a young family at heart, who the kids want dad around all the time. Your wife wants your support, but then you've got this career as well. How do you manage both?
That's where I find myself lucky to have a wife like Monika. Because she certainly understands that I have a huge role to play, and I've had huge responsibilities on my shoulder. And sometimes it's not fair on her, because, especially during my tenure as a chairman of the Defence Sikh Network, I was pretty much working 7 days a week. So, obviously going to the social events, Nagar Kirtans, promoting the army within the ethnic minority. She never complained. And I kind of find myself very fortunate. You need to have that partner who understands your situation and support you within that big cause. Obviously, they are going to some certain times, where the people run out their patience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I believe we have got that communication between us. Then I can feel it when I know she's not going to say anything. Then we open up in that healthy discussion, we spoke about, and then we come up with a solution. But definitely, my achievements wouldn't have been done without her support.
So you've been involved in so much stuff. I've got no idea where to start. There's so many committees and so on that you've been involved in. That's more than likely led to you getting your MBE. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been involved? I mean, I've met you in the most ridiculous places. Carside for a start, Mount Snowdon. There was I, and I was like, what's he doing here? And you're like, what are you doing here? Pua means aunt, by the way, for those of you who are not non-Punjabi speaking. So, I bumped into you at Mount Snowdon. So, what's the stuff? What are some of the committees and some of the work that you've been involved in over the years?
I mean, I certainly, since I started joining the army and going through, as I said, that the support system, we never used to have one. So I kind of took up that challenge on me and I said, look, you know what, now I'm in the system and now we're trying to create more awareness and let people know if they want to, you know, speak to someone about something, that at least we can, you know, transfer that kind of experience or knowledge, what we have learned so far. But I think the good thing about the Ministry of Defense, they've created these faith networks. So what faith networks does, basically, they just go through, this is more like a support system, you know, they talk about, it's more like coaching and mentoring and dealing with certain situations, and, you know, can then highlight the concerns to the higher command. So the responsibility was given to me in 2018. There was a bit more work needed during that time. So then I decided, okay, it's definitely a challenge for me. I need to go out and about and let people know, or, you know, educate our community as well as the army that there is a support system. And since then, we created our own strategies, whether we, you know, what we need to do internally and externally. And we said, okay, let's, you know, build that network. And that's where I start going out, approaching people and said, look, we are here if you need any help. You know, we just don't need anything in return. That's how I approach Khalsa Sarvjit Singh. And I said, look, you know, we are there if you need us, and we're more than happy. And I think we met him in Vasaki at Trafalgar Square. And he mentioned that they do the charity walk every year around in June time to raise more funds. And I said, look, we are happy if you need our assistance. And that's how we started to work with the Ravising Khalsa Party. So our aim was there to provide safety and provide any first aid assistance needed, because obviously as you climbed it there, you know how rough that terrain is, isn't it?
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. It is hard.
And especially, and I must say, within our community, the spirit is so high. Yeah. I've seen, the people with the different age group, as old as you can say 65, 70, and as young as you can say 7 and 8. And I was so mesmerized by the spirits. And, I said, definitely, this is the right place to be. And obviously, we're just dealing with helping out, just going around, having chat, motivating people, and just being a helping hand.
It does actually, as we're walking along, it does actually give us a sense of assurance.
Yeah.
That it's the uniform, and then the star with the uniform gives you that extra bit of oomph. All right, so you're walking along, and if you are struggling, you just have to turn around and whatever, and one of you were there.
Yeah.
It was easy to spot the uniform.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to spot you at the start anyway. But it's just so comforting to know that there's somebody there who can, should I have a mishap or whatever it is, will be able to take care of me because of all your, first aid training and so on and so forth. So it is the fact that you're now supporting Ravi Baji in what he's doing, is amazing. So, I want to touch a little bit about, where you are today. How do you think, why do you think the MBE was presented or will be presented to you? I know it hasn't been presented at the moment, but I know you haven't received the full information as yet. But what do you think? How do you think why? Why do you think?
First of all, that's a very good question, because I didn't even know that I was awarded MBE. It was a complete, absolute shock to me. That's why the information is still sinking in. What I can say that during 17 years of my career in the armed forces, I always try to do the right thing, right? It has upset certain peoples and it has helped certain peoples, right? And as you know, that you cannot please everyone.
Yeah.
But I always try to, listen to my conscience and then try to go with the right path all the time. So I have been involved with so many stuff while being in the army. And again, I really want to say thank you to the British Army, providing those opportunities to every single soldiers. So I've been involved, for example, playing cricket, for example, for my corps. I also officiate in the cricket, for example, being an umpire. So I'm quite involved with the committee at the tri-service level. Been promoting the army, within our ethnic minority, trying to, break the perception what our parents in this country have, that army is all about, go out and killing bad people. We're trying to change that perception. We're trying to encourage our youth to look into this perspective. So, and again, that's is always been a big challenge, and it always will be a big challenge, but we're trying to play a part into it. So that has been one element to that. Obviously, then, that when I was chairman of Defence Sikh Network, that brought another unique challenges, when I go out and about speaking to the youth, and then trying to speak to the, the main stakeholders within our community and say, look, we are there. How can we create that integration and help each other out? And, and I'm sure that my chain of command must have noticed the amount of hard work I was doing, culture we're trying to create. For example, like in this, my new regiment, since I've been here since September, so my C commanding officer has appointed me as chairman of Inclusion Council.
Oh, wow.
So again, they must have seen my portfolio and they said, probably this is the right man for the job. So again, that's a huge responsibility. Trying to create that culture where everyone feel valued, everyone feel they are contributed and their voice are being heard, right? Again, so that's part of it. Trying to aware people where I work about the different culture, trying to create that integration as well. Just trying to create that sort of like a team where everyone is unlocking the potentials and moving forward. So, people call me yes man, because every the responsibility come to me, I'm very shy to say no. I always say yes. And then I
know you are.
But on the same time, every responsibility has their ups and downs, and every responsibility, or opportunity, shall we say, comes with a huge responsibility. I always wonder, if I say yes, what if I cannot fulfill that commitment? It looks bad on me. And, being an Indian and obviously Punjabi, and then, in the army, pride is something we take it very serious, and we're trying to, so it has been very, very hard work. I'm still working hard, and I'm sure the coming time won't be an easy. So I think that's sort of like all this consistent hard work and doing the varied works to create that sort of like inclusive culture within the armed forces, probably been recognized by the command, my chain of command, and that's why I was nominated. When I found out, so it was absolute shock, and that's why I said to you when I spoke to you when you called me and to congratulate it, and I said like, I wasn't even aware of that was coming, but it was definitely good gesture to know that if you do your work professionally with the right intent, people are there and they are obviously thinking about you.
I've had people congratulating me, saying, oh my God, I'm so, your nephew's got MBE, congratulations. And I've got this sense of pride, that you have done what you've done and you've achieved what you've achieved in a short space of time. It seems like, like you said, 17 years. Okay, when you say it sounds like a long time, but that's literally a short space of time, really. It's not 30, 40, 50 years or anything like that. You've done it in a short space of time. And it must have initially, when you first joined the forces, how did you feel when you first joined? Because you are a turban wearing Sikh. So how was it when you first joined? Because it's not something we see on a regular basis. How many of you are there at the start? We don't know. Do you know how many turban wearing Sikhs or how many Sikhs there are in the forces? Because I certainly don't know.
There are around 225 plus minus 10%. That's across the armed forces. Sorry, that's across the Ministry of Defence. That includes Navy, RAF, and the Army. Predominantly more Sikh soldiers in the Army compared to the RAF and the Navy. So the numbers are different, or the ratio is different. So when I joined it about 17 years ago, there was not many people I was aware of that, he was part of the armed family, armed forces family. Certainly I knew my brother and a couple of other friends as well. So seeing where we started and where we are now, and it's glad to see that, the more people are coming through and, adopting armed forces as a great opportunity, as a great career to establish themselves and do what themselves. So it's good to see that, and as I said, that every person has a part to play in into it, and I'm sure that's what we try to move forward in the future, so we can have more are apne or own people, but with the right intentions rather than anything else. The army has changed as well. 100%. The mentality has changed. Well, we call it old school, old mentality, new mentality. But I think army is a bit more now towards the diversity inclusion. Example I can give you of that was 2009, when myself and my friend Simranjeet, we were given the opportunity to guard the Queen outside the Buckingham Palace and become the first.
That was another moment for me, which was like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done it,
Yeah. So that was another great example of the opportunity was provided, and then we accepted, and we're very, very proud of that. The history was created because after that there was more people wanted to do the same sort of job role, and they were going for the specific cap badges in order to be outside the Buckingham Palace and things like that. So yeah, massively proud of that history making moment, and since then we carried on high. We always said that we just need to work collaboratively with other communities as well, with other faith networks, and see where we can if there is any room for improvement, or if motivation.
I mean, like I said, earlier, you carry a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, because you are, for all intents and purposes, you're the role model for the next generations and the generations after that, because your face is synonymous with being in the forces. And especially like when I first met you, like 20 odd years ago, or 15 years, I can't remember when it was now. It was a long time ago when I met you.
It was a long time ago, yes.
It was a long time ago when I met you, and we met in Tooting, which is an area in London.
Yeah.
At the Gurdwara, at the local Sikh temple, was where I met you and your brother. From when I first met both of you, not just you, but both of you, there was that sense of cheekiness going on, especially with your younger brother. He's very cheeky. There was that sense of cheekiness. There is that sense of cheekiness, but there's also that sense of self-awareness as well about both of you, how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, how you speak to people. It's like the way you guys spoke to me. Originally, you thought I was one of the gang, so to speak, because you all put me in the same bracket as you guys. And then you find out, oh, actually, she's one of the aunties, slightly older. So, and then not that you changed the way you spoke to me, but it was just like speaking to me in a sense that now I'm an elder, although which is a bit strange even saying it now. But the way that you guys carry yourself and the role models that you are, I'm saying you, but also your brother as well. You are both role models for for your own children first and foremost, and then there's the wider community as well. The next generations. Your face now is plastered everywhere, and rightly so. So people are recognizing you more and more, especially since the MBE. So that's got to come with its own weight in itself.
Absolutely, and I'm a little bit nervous as well at the same time, because every time you go through the different stage of your career, your life, again, as you pointed rightly so, that comes with the expectancy level obviously rise as well. People expect more from you, and then again that goes back to the sense of the fear that what if I cannot fulfill their expectations, or cannot live up to their expectations. But I believe, every time I hit any sort of like the step, I always had the thought, but then I said to myself, just carry on whatever you're doing, and then I'm sure you will be fine. And then just going back to the whole journey, and then thinking backwards now, coming from a small village, where I went to a government school, whether, every time it used to rain, and then there was no school whatsoever. And there was no enough teachers, and then obviously done my education from there, and seeing myself at the moment, I'm actually quite proud of myself, what I achieved, obviously with the support of everyone, whether that's my family, the British Army, chain of command, of course, friends and families like you, always, and I'm always thankful to them no matter what.
Well, we're really, really proud of you. Really proud of all your achievements, which is why you're on here. So I couldn't wait to get you on here, and so people can just see how much you do for everybody else. Because, you know, where being a Sikh and then going into the British Army, where there are multiple faiths. So how have you guys been able to bring all of these faiths together and say, you know what, regardless of faith, we're all human beings, we're one race?
Yeah.
How did you guys manage to do all of that?
Because when we join the army, the one thing we learn, you know, you're a soldier first than anything else, right? Regardless of your faith and things like that. Because if you can get the basics right, then I'm sure you can, you know, explore the other sides of that, whether that's being religion and culture as well. If you got a firm standing, obviously, then you can go out with a lot of confidence and knowledge and say, look, if me being as a terminal Sikhs in the army can do this, why can't you? You know, just trying to present the sort of situation, trying to motivate in a different way that there are no barriers, right? It's all up in your head. And that's what makes you thinking. When you start questioning yourself, that means you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So we just trying to ask questions, you know, if not sure about anything, obviously go and ask people and say, look, you know, this is a situation, how can we deal with it? And that's how you're building your networks, trying to more people into it, let them buy into the thoughts or the sort of like, you know, situation you're trying to create. But I believe since the time has changed, the army's changed, I think people now more intellectual and they know what they want to achieve. And I think that kind of helps us as well.
Yeah, because while you're in the army, you have a lot of structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do things at a certain time, you do them in a certain way. So you have all of this structure. But can the structure be inhibiting as well as liberating?
It really depends on you. It really depends on you because, yes, certainly there are structure, but as long as I said that to you, you know, if you have made a difference in the past or as you got the right intent, the chain of command, the structure is willing to support you, is willing to pull you up and say, look, we give you that liberation to go wherever you want. And certainly on the same time, there are severe consequences as well if you cannot do that, because obviously, you know, element of the risk involved within it as well. But generally the chain of command is always supportive, right? When it comes to the culture, religion, or any extra responsibility you're willing to do that is always supportful. For example, like, again, I'm going to give my example. While doing all this thing as well, then I actually put myself forward to do a master's, you know, trying to do the master's degree through the army. And then people are asking me, you already got enough, haven't you got enough on your plate? I said, yes. But, you know, it's more about that, you know, the progression you make in your career. So I said, I'm just going to give it a go and see, like, as I said that, you know, yes, man. I said, all right, well, let's give it a go and see where we go from there. Then again, chain of command supported me, because if your chain of command doesn't support you, then you're not going forward. They would have said, no, you can't have it. Same thing with the chain of command supporting for me getting an MBE. That's again with their support as well. So there is liberation as long as you use it wisely, but there are always that's inhibition as well, you know, if things doesn't go wrong, and obviously not like sort of like a scary side of it, but to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's having that support structure, whether it's at home, whether it's in Civilian Street, which is where I'm based, you know, or whether it's in the army. It's having that support structure in place that can allow people or enables people to grow as individuals. And then as that individual grows and, you know, engages with their purpose, and engages with a purpose with everybody, as opposed to just going through the motions, then that community starts to grow. So, you know, it must have that same sense within the army as well, where you're growing as an individual, but then those around you are growing because they're feeding off of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a firm believer that every single individual, male or female, you know, everyone has a potential, right? You just need to explore the key to unlock the potential. And that potential, once it's unlocked, would have a ripple effect. As you mentioned that, you know, if you grow yourself, and then obviously with that growing, you earn that knowledge, the skills, whether you can contribute to bridge that gap between armed forces and the society and the community as well. And I think that bridge is quite important element of that relationship, which must be maintained. And obviously, you know, having that credibility again helps you out as well. And I think what I've noticed is hard to establish that credibility within the armed forces. Once you've done that, obviously people respect you with the chain of command. And that factor 100% helps you to achieve.
So, I mean, since you've since it's been announced that you're on that amazing list of people, how's life been? Has you all of a sudden got hectic or more hectic than normal? How is it? How's life been since, announced?
It has been quite adventurous, shall we say, and hectic as well, because obviously, you receive lots of phone calls and, you need to respond to them because obviously that's what you do. Replying to messages, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, or, the phone calls or the WhatsApp, it's been quite busy. I'm still receiving those text messages. And obviously since that news been out, people have heard about it, and then been approached by different journalists to do the interview. But I must tell you were the first one. And I'm just doing interviews with them because I think our community is very proud.
Yes.
Because again, it's not an easy thing to achieve, and it's not an easy thing to attain. It does involve a lot of hard work, which we discussed, and I think they're just trying to raise the awareness that being Sikh and he's achieved something. Let's broadcast that and then use as a role model, to motivate others as well to go on the same line. So I'm absolutely humbled, being with their approach. Also nervous on the same time because you never know.
You've done really well. You've done so well during this conversation. You've got nothing. Look, listen, at the end of the day, right, Sarvjit, you are who you are, and you're such an amazing, humble person, and you're very grounded. You don't take anything for granted. So, and that's going to continue. My post on LinkedIn, I don't know if you know, has had over 20,000 views.
Wow.
That's the highest ranking post on my LinkedIn profile is yours. It's over 20,000 views. And some of them are people who I don't know them. They've congratulated you on my post and then got in contact with you afterwards because I've passed their messages on to you. This is people who were in the call with you, and they've moved on and doing other things and so on. But over 20,000 views, and it's still rising. It's still going up, the number of views on that post alone. So it just goes to show how profile it is what you've actually achieved, So
thank you very much, first of all, for posting that, because I wasn't even aware that when you tagged me. And thank you again, because there was old friends who served with me in the Army who's left, and obviously, as you said, that they've gone into a different phase of life. They're coming back to me, they're messaging me and telling me how proud they are, and we just memorizing the old time. So thank you very much to you to connecting with them, because without you wouldn't have been possible. And it's an amazing, unbelievable.
So what's next for you? When do you actually go and receive your MBE? Are you going to, has anything about that? What are you doing personally? Where do you go from here? You're now an MBE. You're kind of up here. How much higher can you really go? Where do you want to go?
To be honest with you, not sure. And I said to you, I will just carry on what I've been doing for the last 17 years. But I would like to use this opportunity given it to me, being awarded an MBE. I want to utilize it. I just don't want to have it next to my name and then sit on it, then saying, like, I achieved something. I just want to do more for our soldiers. I want to do for our community as well. So one of the issues I was thinking, which is quite relevant in these days, especially during COVID, is the mental health. So I want to raise the awareness and the effect of it and the coping strategies they can come with it, because it's something which is curable, right? As long as identified at the right time. So I want to contribute in that field, to do that. And again, I said that obviously the credibility is must, and having MB next to your name certainly does highlight your credibility. And I'm saying people probably hopefully listen to me, because that's what I would like to do. and then getting ready for the preparation. Everyone keeps saying to me, "Welcome to the club," and I'm just wondering what the club is. What are the regulations? So still trying to get more information, and I'm hoping that a letter will come through, which will give you a bit more details. When is it? Where is it? All I've been told that could be either at Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace, or it can be either presented by Her Majesty the Queen or by other members of the royal family. But if you want to find out my honest opinion, I want to happen in Buckingham Palace and definitely by Her Majesty the Queen, because
I would as well if I was in your boots. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. So eagerly waiting for the day, and hopefully some good news will be coming. Obviously, I know it's been hard with the COVID, all this sort of things been cancelled or postponed. So hoping around April time, but let's see, wait and watch.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit now. I want to ask you a question around your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? So once, Sarvjit Singh, MBE, and, masters in whatever it is you're going to achieve and so on and so forth. How do you, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered? What is it that you want people to say once you're no longer, once you've departed this earth?
You know what? You actually have put me on the spot. I never actually thought about it. It's probably a tough one to answer. Legacy, all I want to leave a legacy behind, it's just that, nothing is impossible, right? No matter what background you have, no matter what education level you have, no matter how poor your English is, no matter what country you belong to, right? Everything is within your limit, as long as you're willing to challenge yourself, right? And never doubt yourself. Once you commit it, you need to just go with it, right? Forget about the consequences. As I said that before, never question yourself. Just believe in yourself. And then I'm sure people will understand that.
I'm getting quite emotional listening to you because that was very, very heartfelt. I actually literally felt that through my call. I felt like you were just saying it to me. I know you're saying it to everybody, but I got quite emotional listening to that. So
I know, and I said to you, and I'm going to call you Pua this time, right? And I said to you, you are inspiration as well. You don't realize. And I said to you, I have friends, who follows you and finds you very inspiring. Your personality and the work you do, it's unbelievable. And I always look up to you as well. Every time we met, you always surprise me with something else. And then I'm proud. I'm really, really proud and very privileged to have you as my family and friend. So there's no doubt about that.
Thank you so much. Just as a last thing, okay, 3 things that you would say to anybody who is thinking of joining the forces, anybody from any background, 3 things that you think they need to hear that maybe could clear up some queries or, should I, shouldn't I, that kind of, just three nuggets, 3 bits of wisdom that you would give them.
I always say 3 things, probably very little to sum up the opportunities or the brilliant career I had, but I will say challenge yourself. And it's eventful, exciting, adventurous, and also had lots of opportunities there. Lots of opportunities, right? So if you that kind of person, then I would definitely say come forward. Obviously you have my details. If anyone have any questions regards to anything, I'm more than happy, willing to assist or question or answer any questions or any queries they have. But yes, I mean, I've been 17 years and look, as I said, my journey from G to MBE. If I can certainly do that, I'm sure all of you listeners or viewers or anyone else is far more better, intelligent, smarter than me. So never underestimate yourself.
Sarvjit, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to come on and have this conversation. It's so lovely to talk to you and hear there's parts of your journey I didn't know anything about it. Obviously, you call me Bua and I call you my nephew, my bot, as I call you, bot means son. So I have learnt a lot about you and your tenacity, your courage, your sense of, I'm going to achieve this, you know, and there's something that keeps popping in my head. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to translate it. Maybe you can translate it for me to the viewers, which is Gobind Dalal.
Yes.
That's what, and I'm getting goosebumps just saying it, because that's what just keeps springing to my mind is you are Gobind Dalal. So, you know,
Thank you very much. That's very kind, Pooja. Honestly, you know, every time we met, we always exchange those conversations. But I'm always very humbled, and cannot thank you enough for your kind gestures and, you know, highlighting me as a role model or giving me the opportunity, probably for the first time, to talk about my journey, talk about my background, and things like that. And I'm also going to say that I'm very proud, and certainly my parents are, my family as well, you know, where I have started and where I am right now. It's phenomenal and it's unbelievable, but it's definitely possible. So, yeah.
And on that note, I think that's a good place to end this, actually. Everything is possible. Nothing is impossible. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining in this very special episode of Inspired By. And this week, we were inspired by Sarvjit Singh, MBE. If you do want to get in contact with him, his bio is underneath this. Remember to like and subscribe, and you'll find more interesting guests coming up over the coming weeks. So yeah, it's a very emotional goodbye from me, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Looking forward to that. Take care.